Good morning, everyone. So today, doing a project that I want to do, nothing that I have to do, but I wanted to swap out steering wheel in my truck, and thought I'd go over how I'm going to do this and a few tools and what's needed to do it. Should be a fairly simple job, but to start with, anytime you're doing something like this, disconnect your negative battery cable. So, already got that done. That way there's no chance of anything shorting, burning wires, blowing fuses, those kind of things. So, this is my current steering wheel. It's kind of hard to get on video. Nothing wrong with it. I just wanted something different. So for Christmas, I bought myself a new steering wheel. Another Amazon purchase. But it should be nice. My only concern is it's probably going to be really hot to the touch in the summertime, but not a big concern of mine. I'll figure it out when I get there. So, to get started, like I said, disconnect the battery cable. Need to remove this horn button. This steering wheel, super easy. It honestly just pops off. There's not much to it. And then you can disconnect the little stake on right there and get it completely out of the way. So, now that that's done, what I need to do is use a steering wheel puller to get this steering wheel off. You can see there's a nut down in there. Kind of see. There it is. So we'll have to remove that nut and then use a puller with two bolts that go in here. So what I have for that is the Harbor Freight Special steering wheel puller. It's not a tool that I use a lot, so I didn't want to invest in an expensive one, but it's a tool that's nice to have when I need it. It's also hard to open one-handed. Alright, it's going to make a fool out of me. Look at this. It's not a good sign when I can't open the case. There we go. So, comes with instructions. But essentially what happens, I'll pull that nut off. This will ride on the stem, and the two bolts will go through here. And all this will make sense in a minute once I get a few hand tools and put this together, and I'll show you how this works. Alright, got me a few little tools. Set me a light up so maybe you guys can see what I'm seeing too. First thing I'm going to do is pull that nut I was talking about. It takes a 13/16 socket. And one thing you want to be cautious of here is you don't want to crank on this, because the only thing holding this steering wheel in place is the locking mechanism inside the steering column. So you want to make sure that you grab the steering wheel with one hand and remove the nut with, or use the wrench with your other hand. That way you're not putting too much force and tension on it. One thing also to mention, if you have a locking steering column like I do, try to get it as straight as you can so that when you put the wheel on, you're going to be about where this one is. With this one, after my alignments and everything I've done, this one tracks really straight. The steering wheel is straight up and down. That's a pet peeve of mine, to see a steering wheel cocked sideways when the vehicle's moving straight. So I'm going to set this camera down, get this nut off so that I can use both hands, and then I'll show you what I do after that. So get the nut off. Like I said, use both hands to get that. One thing I didn't mention, if you have a steering wheel just like this one, to remove this hot wire for your horn, you push in and turn about a quarter turn and the whole thing pops out. So now that that's done, I can set up my steering wheel puller. And like I said, you can see the two holes, that one and that one will be the ones I use. Obviously I wouldn't use the hole where the horn button wire just came out of. So looking at this steering column, you can see this has been pulled, looks like a lot of times. I actually pulled it recently when I added the cruise control stock right there, and I'll make another video about how I made that work sometime. But for now, you want to find the two bolts out of the kit that you need to fit the thread pitch of those holes. So you can see in the kit it comes with options. I recently did this, so I'm cheating a little bit. Obviously I know that these are the bolts. You can even look at here at the threads and tell they've been used. But what they do, they will thread into the steering wheel that'll fit on there. And then you take one of the other bolts and thread it into the other hole down there. So we will do that. Tighten those guys up. You don't have to bury them, but you do want to get enough threads on them so they'll hold. See, these are 1/2 inch. And you want to get them kind of even too. If not, you'll end up pulling it sideways. And if yours has not been off in a long time, it will likely bind up and not want to come off at all. But they're feeling kind of tight right there. We'll go ahead and just run this down by hand. And as you can see, this rides on that steering shaft on the column. So with that in mind, I should just be able, I'm gonna hold it with my knee, but this should pull right off like that. And like I said, cheating a little bit, yours may not be that easy. I recently had this one off, but really not that bad. Even the first time I pulled it, it really wasn't that bad to get off. But I need to put these up so that I can go to the next step. In fact, let me shut this off and come back. Alrighty, a couple things I wanted to mention. I was talking about not pulling on the steering wheel because it was just a little pin that was holding it. You look right there, that's the pin that locks your steering column when you turn your key off. So if I turn my key on, you see the pin goes away. Now you will be able to turn your wheel, turn it off, boom, there it locks. But you don't want to put a lot of force on that. It will break. Another thing I wanted to mention while I was this deep into it, if you were doing something like changing out your turn signal switch or your key switch, you would have to remove this ring. The way to do that is in the kit that came for pieces in the steering wheel puller kit. So this is an adapter that will screw onto the threads here on your steering column. So you would screw this on. You would use this adapter that I dropped. It would go on here. There's a nut and a washer, and what that will do is it will push this down as you tighten the nut that you would put here. And when you do that, there is a little clip right there that you pull out. A pair of needle nose pliers, flathead screwdriver, it'll get that clip out. Once you do that, you remove all these pieces, and then this ring comes off. Once this comes off, you have access to your turn signal switch, the stock here, all of that. So looking at the steering wheel adapter kit, it came with this wire to use for the horn button. The spring and this piece were not on it out of the kit, so I put them on. And when I went to install it, I don't really like the way it fits, because if you watch, that spring slides up inside this adapter and comes out the other side. I've looked in the kit, there's no washers, there's no anything to put between the spring and this, because the spring needs to stay on the other side of it. So if I put this in now and do that quarter turn to lock it in, it's going to slide around. So what I'm going to do is use the original one that came with it. As you can see, when you push that in, the spring pushes it back, which holds tension, which will keep it in there. So we're going to put this back in. Boom. And you can see on the side right here how it locks in. So there's that. And if I need to put another stick-on it to make it work, I will. So out of the kit, there's a bunch of pieces to use for adapters. This I can tell because there's no instructions. This one will go on first. And there are 2 holes here. And it's a universal kit. But with this one, if I put it on that hole, everything lines up. You see the horn button comes through and it lines up so that I can use it like that. The next piece I think that goes on is this cover. So we're going to slide it on like so. And now your 3 bolt holes, you can see, line up with your horn wire. After that, I'm thinking this one goes on. So we'll do the same thing, feed it through, and all of them still line up. The concern I have is the nut that holds all this on isn't much bigger than that hole. So I may see if I need to put a washer on it. Might just stick it on and see how it feels. Definitely don't want to play around with the steering wheel and something bad happen. It'd be a shame if it came off while you were going down the road. But I want to dig into this a little more and see what I find with it. I ended up just putting the nut on without a washer. After looking at it, there wasn't going to be a lot of threads left, and I didn't feel good about having less threads to put the washer on. But it does feel like it fitted fairly well. I've got my horn wires here, and you do need to add this one so that it will have a ground. So that's part of the kit. There's a little hole, put a Phillips head screw in it, no big deal. And you have 2 wires now instead of one to go to your horn button. And on the back of your horn button, there are 2 wires. This stake-on that was on the factory wire that you saw me put in, it works fine. So now what I need to do, slip my steering wheel on, then I'll have to hook the horn button up. But the way I think I'm going to do this is I'll just put a screw in that top hole right there to hold it. That'll let me hook up the wires. I can remove the screw because the horn button goes on at the same time. So I'll take care of that, and then we'll see the finished product. And there we have it. Steering wheel is installed. Even got the bow tie straight. Horn button, I still have the battery disconnected. And I don't have a horn right now anyway. But, all in all, I think it looks pretty good. Looks better than what was in there. It is a little smaller, which I did have that wheel cover on it. But it feels good. We'll do some driving when it's not 25 degrees and raining and see how it actually works out. But it sits well. It doesn't bring it to, I was worried it was going to bring it really close to me, and it doesn't. It's a good feel. So that's how this steering wheel was installed. If you have any questions, comments, anything, leave it below. Appreciate you watching. Y'all be good.